What's going on, y'all? It's boy H Dog back here with another video. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and think about subscribing because I put out the latest gaming news, and I also stream whenever I don't have a news topic to give to y'all. Also, even sometimes every now and again, once every blue moon, I decide to give y'all like small discussion pieces that's scripted, and I try to take care of them to my best ability. Go check all those out. With that being said, let's get into the video. Now, I was debating on doing this because I didn't really see that many people talk about it in a way, but I think by now everybody knows that Ninja gave some comments. Okay, so apparently there was news circulating that Ninja was asked about, like, you know, would he teach a kid in the chat about white privilege, racism, and this was part of an interview with New York Times. By the way, if you want to read the full interview, it will be in the description box below, where he says, it was a part where he says, how does a white kid know he has white privilege if his parents never teach him or don't talk about racism? If they're gaming and their first interaction with racism is one of their friends saying the N-word and they have no idea what it is, what if it was on my stream? Is it my job to have a conversation with this kid? No, because the first thing that's going on in my head, this kid is doing this on purpose to troll me. If someone says a racial slur on someone else's stream, it could potentially get that streamer banned. It's awful, but that's just the first thing I think of. The part where he did say, how does a white kid know he has white privilege if parents don't teach him? I can kind of relate to that because I was never taught about that shit. That shit was never mentioned to me by my parents. You know how I knew about it? People who I went to school with. I mean, looking back, like by me just looking, listening, and falling back, observing. Mostly observing. And you can see it. You know what I'm saying? You can see it in shit that happens. It's like simplistic basic math. 2 + 2 = 4. So, and you don't have to really, you know, think too hard, you know, to really know that. And you can see it with the recent events that happened last summer and even this year. A good example that I can give is, like, let's say if you're in a courtroom, you see two people on trial, black person, white person. White person has, let's say white person has like first-degree murder charge, and they give him 10 years with $50,000 bail, right? His black counterpart, same crime, but he gets a longer sentence. He does life with no possibility of parole. That is white privilege. White privilege is you getting pulled over by the cops as a white person and you go home. When it happens to a black person or any other person of color or minority, I don't know if they're gonna go home. And sure, there are some black people that can say, yeah, it's not happened to me. But you can at least read the room and observe it's happened to a lot of people. It's happened to people who would do what the fuck they were told to do. And it's one of the things, will it ever change? There's a good possibility, no. But it can only change at home. Because if parents, which is kind of makes me hopeful in the long term, because a lot of people who's in our age group who have kids are teaching the things teaching our kids or your kids how to be good people, how to be a good person. I learned how to be a good person through my grandfather. And right and wrong, and knowing the difference is very easy to do. And who's the most oppressed group of people in this country today is black people. It's an absolute fact. But when it comes to white folks or white kids with white privilege, you know, you have some idiots like Mr. Jeremy here
I challenge the idea that you're even acting like white privilege exists, because I haven't received my white privilege card in the mail. If I had white privilege, why did it take me like 8 or 9 years to build Geeks and Gamers? Why did I spend tens of thousands of dollars? Why did I lose sleep? And why did I sacrifice so much if all I needed to do was cash in my white privilege? It's almost like, why did I even work hard for what I have? Why not use my white privilege? But that's neither here nor there. I'm not going to get into that part of this discussion.
Who thinks that it's something literal, something you can see, something you could feel, reach out to and touch, or, you know, point at? But and in that excerpt, in that clip that I just showed, he was like, oh, if I had white privilege, you know, he trying to make a point of, if I had white privilege, why did it take so long for me to build this up? That's not what this is about. If that was the case, me being a white YouTuber, I would be where you're at. But chances are you're not going to see this. You're not going to worry about little old me. You know what I'm saying? Who's grinding his way to get to the top. Personally, when it comes to white privilege, it didn't take much for me to learn about it. It didn't take much for me to learn about racism. You can see, like, I've seen racism at work, where it wouldn't happen to me. It would happen to people who's of an opposite color. Like, say for example, I could have a boss, right, at a previous job. He could tell me to do one thing, and I could tell him, no, like, I got to do this. And he can go tell another person who's the opposite color of me to do the same thing he tried to get me to do, but he can give him the same answer I can. But you know what that same white boss would say? You either do that or you're fired. He would tell he would tell my black counterpart that. But that's like, you know, old job, you know. This is, by the way, this is kind of divided people, shockingly. But in terms of having a conversation, like in terms of if, you know, he's talking about if like a kid, you know, who will troll, because kids do troll. But if like a kid, you know, wants to know what the N-word is, what racism is, that is not Tiger Bevins, or that's not Ninja's job to teach him about that. That's a parent's job. Why should a streamer, why should a content creator have to tell you about that? Like, why should I have to tell people about that? Like, if I have to tell a if I have to tell a kid, then that could be a bit different. Because there's a possibility he can learn something. But if it's a grown adult, I don't need to tell a grown adult anything. And 9 times out of 10, white folks who grew up around other white folks who went to private schools, they're gonna grow up to be conservative, vote Republican. Here think that white privilege is a myth, you know, because of the people who they hang around, and they'll use the N-word a lot, and they'll think that, oh, because they use it, it's cool, it's not bad. Until, you know, somebody lashes out at them for using it. Then they'll look at it like it's an issue. And then you try to tell them people it's wrong, and they'll think their way of thinking is right. And those people don't even try to have a conversation with them. Oh, you don't think it is? All right, we done. We're done. You know what I'm saying? Don't push the convo further. But like I was saying, it's not Ninja's job or his responsibility to explain shit to him. If Ninja has to explain to a kid about racism, systematic oppression of black people, all that about the N-word, then you as a parent have failed. You as a parent have failed if you're letting someone on the internet do your job. That's where you fail. And by the way, people, like I said, people have been divided on it. One side saying, yeah, he should, because of who he is, because of who his fan base is, because of how many fans he has. And it's not just kids that watches him, it's grown adults. People say, oh, he should say something. He should, it should be his place to say something. But here's the thing. I've heard and I've seen evidences of Ninja saying the N-word. So you gotta ask yourself, and I understand he has a big fan base and all, a lot of people watch him. But do you really want a person who said that word teach kids about racism and all that? You really want that? Someone who's not only white, but has said the N-word himself. And y'all want that person to teach kids about racism. And I don't care how much of a following he got. Like, it's not like he's gonna be the epitome of change. Change comes from within, not from outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, say for example, if I'm streaming, or if somebody leaves a comment like, what's white privilege? What's racism about? Like, first thing I'm gonna ask is, how old are you? That's the first thing I'm gonna ask. How old are you? Secondly, what made you want to know about white privilege? What made you want to know about racism, systematic racism, economic oppression, systematic oppression, all these different things? What made you want to know about it? What event? What catalyst? What was the catalyst for you to want to know? Was it what happened last summer? If that's your answer, and you didn't want to know about it before George Floyd, why was it? I mean, I understand it was that massive, everybody heard about it. If you didn't want to do it, if you didn't want to learn about racism and white privilege before George Floyd, why should you want to know about it? Why should you want to learn about it after? Like, why has it got to be George Floyd to be the guy who's like, oh, now I want to know? You should have been known. You as a white person, and I'm specifically talking to the white folks, any white person who watches this, same skin tone as me. If you're my age, or in my age group, why would you want to wait till now when you've had all this time to educate yourself on white privilege, on all these different things? Why should I have to be the one to tell you? If you're my age, you're a grown ass adult. You should teach yourself. I taught myself. Did anybody teach me? No. I taught myself. I learned. I listened. I sat back and observed to the point where I know what this shit's about. And I know right from wrong. I was taught that. It don't take much for me to see what's right and wrong. And I know some white YouTubers are not gonna make a video like this because of sponsorship deals or whatever. But do we really want those people to admit, their stance on this? No. Because we know or have a guess what it is. It's not my job to educate you. You got to educate yourself. Because just like how you can teach yourself these other things in life, teach yourself this. And it's another thing. It's just like when the whole shit with George Floyd happened last summer, a lot of white people, and I noticed this, a lot of white people was like, now I want to know. Now I want to reach out. Now I want to be an ally. Like, why is it now? When you didn't want to do it before, so why now? You didn't want to do it with Sandra Bland. You didn't want to do it with Trayvon Martin. So why now? Why now? It makes no fucking sense to me. You should have been learned. And I understand, you know, like I was saying, there are white YouTubers who's not going to make this, who's not going to say what I say. I think you should. It's not going to hurt you. You know what I'm saying? And if people get mad at them, fuck them. If people get mad at me for my opinion on this, fuck you.
Go suck a motherfucking dick. Suck a dick, suck a huge or small.
But let's keep it a stack. If y'all want white folks like myself to stand up and make a stance on this, let it be people like me, who's like-minded like me. Not someone who has a history of saying the N-word. If it's someone who has a history of saying it, why look to them? I don't give a fuck who they are. If they have a history of saying it, those people don't even need to say nothing on it. It's one of these topics that I wasn't sure I was going to make a video on it. I was kind of debating it. It don't matter how big I get. The bigger I get, the better, of course. But I'd be damned if I was to have a sponsorship, I'd be damned any sponsorship was to come to me and be like, yo, you can't say this, it's going to make you look bad. I don't give a fuck, okay? Let me put that plain and clear. By me, I know some of these top YouTubers are afraid to say what I would say, talk the way I talk, because I cuss a lot. And I know some people are afraid to do that, but I'm gonna just be honest. I'm gonna just be honest with you. Yeah, I'm pointing at you. I'm gonna just be honest. If you are a content creator, you're afraid to say one curse word, you're fake. That's bottom line. If you are shit scared of saying one little curse word in a video as a content creator, you're fake. You're fake. I can't take you serious. Like I said, educate yourself. Keep it moving. I mean, granted, if, you know, you ask me, you know, now it could be a situation where people don't know. And if you don't know, that's fine. And if this was your first time hearing about what's happened to people, even Breonna Taylor, which is still not, you know, gotten solved, you know, teach yourself. Read the room, as they say. I shouldn't be the one to have to teach you. And if you know, good. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Do you think Ninja should say something? Think he shouldn't? I think he shouldn't. It's not his job, it's the parents' job. And the ones who do think that a Twitch streamer, not only any Twitch streamer, the Twitch streamer, should make a stance on something like this, even especially with his, even included with his history of saying the N-word, this is who y'all want, this is who y'all picking. Y'all need to really think about that. But let me know what you think in the comments below. I know this has been a lengthy video. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. I try my best to put out daily content for you guys to eat on. And whenever I don't make a news video, I'm gonna stream for y'all, give y'all some gameplay to watch, you know, some shit like that. All right, peace.